all of you. I start by saying welcome to the police headquarters as the new IGP for the Gambia Police Force. Now, to start with, I will tell you who I am. That is to say that I am Mr. IGP Mamour Jobe. I was born in the year 1960 on August 3rd in a village called Balangar in the CRR region. I did my primary education in Balangar. Then after primary 5, 6, I went to Kuntaur Primary School. From Kuntaur, I sat to the common entrance then and got a pass to come to Kaur Junior Secondary School. From Kaur, I spent a year and then moved to Latikunda Junior Secondary School. And then I completed my educational career in 1979. Shortly when I left school in 1979, I picked up the job in the education department as a teacher. I taught for nearly 2 years at Bako Primary School until in 1981, when I decided to join the Gambia Police Force. I joined the Gambia Police Force in 1981, January 1st, and underwent a 6-month training program during which I became the best student at that time, and I was awarded the Baton of Honor and Certificate of Commendation. From my passing out training, I was posted to the CID, where I was a junior detective officer. And barely less than 6 months to that profession or that assignment, I was called back to go to the training school, where I became a lecturer, classroom law lecturer. Why? Because of the fact that I had been a teacher before gave me an edge to be recalled back to the school where I became a classroom law lecturer. I was at the school for some time until 1993 that I moved out from the school and came to Banjul, where I worked as a narcotic officer. We were the first people to establish what is now called the NDA. Previously it was called, or it used to be called, the Drug Squad Office, and now the name had changed to the National Drug Law Enforcement Agencies. So we started that office, and after for some time, I became the station officer for Banjul. And briefly from Banjul, I went to Kalaji, where I was a station officer, then to Serekunda, and from Serekunda, I was called back to the school for the second time. And whilst I was in the school, then an opportune moment came for me to serve in the peacekeeping arena with the United Nations. And that caused my deployment to go to Liberia, where I worked for almost 2 years, 1 month, as a peacekeeper and as a trainer, for that matter, in the Liberian National Police. Whilst in Liberia as a peacekeeper, I became the deputy director of the Police Academy in Liberia. And in that academy, we had about 94 international police observers, and some of whom I worked with as a trainer. Shortly when I returned from Liberia in 2006, I was made the Deputy Chief of Operations in the headquarters, and then transferred to West Coast as the Commissioner of West Coast. And from there, I was called back to come to the headquarters, where I became this crime management coordinator, commonly known as the CMC. I was here for some time, for about 8, 9 months as the CMC to the IG, and then got deployed to North Bank as the commissioner. And from North Bank, where I also spent about 9 months, I was called back again to go back to the school to become the director of the academy, responsible of recruitment and training of all police-related fields. And I was there for a period of about 9 years when my services was called again to go to the KMC as the commissioner of the region. That was last year. And whilst I was in KMC, I was there in May 2017, and by June 2017, I got my appointment to become the Deputy Inspector General of Police. And in that capacity, until on Monday, on the 25th, that I received an order appointment to become the acting Inspector General of Police. In this regard, I decided to inform my PRO to call onto the press and then get them informed, for the press to know who I am and my intent to work along with the press, because together with you, a lot can be achieved. Together with you, we can have things done in the right way, because you are the people that reach the society. And then there are quite a lot of things that we need to give out, and we cannot do it by ourselves in the absence of the press. So I take your roles and responsibilities very important, and that was why in that regard I decided to call you. And again, here as an institution, I am to inform you that I will continue from where my predecessor stops and try to improve on where there had been weaknesses. I will try to make sure that those things or those gaps are breached. On that note, I will stop here, having made myself introduced before you, and the next steps I will want to hear from you. If there is anything that you think you need to know from me, you are mostly highly welcome.
Thank you very much. I think it's particularly Police, IGP Mamour Jobe. Now, for ease of questioning, you raise your hand if you want to ask, then I will pick you, then you will ask your questions. Yes, you please introduce yourself before you ask a question. Okay, Amadou Bari, Radio Future Media and Théâtre Sénégal, Groupe Future Media, correspondent in the Gambia. You may ask your question.
Thank you very much, Honorable. I will speak first in, I don't know, in French or in English. I need it in
English or all of you?
Okay. But what I need it in Wolof.
Okay, good.
You can ask in all of them.
Okay. Okay. Jërëjëf si kàddu gi, Honorable, di la ñaanal yéenu bi oyof sa kaw.
Amiin.
Jërëjëf, bëggoon nañ xam rek bi nga toogee ba noppi tey jii nii lan mooy sa priorité, lan moo jiitu si sa wàllu mandat te nag nga jël fonction si jamono ji nga xam ne ku nekk si réew mi xam na ne institution bi maanaam xar kanam bi xaw na yàqu tuuti maanaam ñu ngi doon defar ñu ngi doon def radio pour nu mu tudd pour defaraat image bi ñu ngi doon def ay campagne si mbedd mi di naan police bi askan wi la nekkal si jamono ji nga xam ne maanaam image police bi xaw na am yàqute ak askan bi lan nga mën a def pour maanaam yokk image boobu si askan ak lan moo si sa priorité maanaam fi nga toog jërëjëf.
waaw jërëjëf suma mbokk mi lu ma bëgg a leeral fii rek mooy ne lu ma wax mooy suma boss woon amoon na xalaat bu baax boo xam ne buñ toogee gis na comme ne crime bi tafaari mu ngi bëri waaye ci ñun buñ ko cegee dañ gis ne comme ne ni ko nit ñi waxee demewut noonu dëgg la mu ngi am amul benn réew ci àdduna bi boo xam ne mun ngaa taxaw wax ne comme ne tafaar du fa am ci réew yu mag yi ñoo leeralal suñ jëf suñ la waxalee on a statistic based crimes you fara commit with all the technologies that they have doo ko mën a compare ak Gambia pour wax la rek ne suma boss buñ toogee gis na comme ne crime bi mu ngi dem ndànka ci kaw we decided to introduce and create ñu ci lañ ubbi benn office boo xam ne ñu ngi ko ooyee anti crime unit boobu moom dafa nekk di liggéey 24 hours te njëriñam ci loolu mooy bépp foo xam ne comme police bi mënul faa egga ñoom am nañ jumtuwaay te dinañ fa egga te depuis buñ ko commencé buñ ko sos ak léegi gis nañ ne comme ne complaint bu nit ñi daan joxee dëgg la du mun a jékki-jékki rek stop waaye wàññeeku na bu baax a baax fas naa yéene tam pour ne jokkoo rataxal diggante askan bi in this regard I mean the media ñu try dimbale ma ñu dimbalante ñu xam ne comme dëkk bi suñ dëkk la loo xam ne rafet nañ ñu wax ko loo xam ne comme ñaaw na ñu seet ñu ko war a saafaraale waaye ci gën a gàttal wax bi mooy ne comme ne suma boss ku fi nekkoon amoon nañ xalaat pour am police community relationship in that regard pour ñu jéem a yedd askan bi wax leen seen wareef te was di police loo xam ne comme ne dafa daan ñaaw ñu seet nuñ ko rafetalee ci waxin bu gàtt loolu moo taxoon ñu def ko ci billboard si wane na comme ne béel kenn waratu cee ñàkk dara sa right la ku police jàppa loi bi lu mu teg mooy ne comme ne war nañ la bàyyi au ñu yóbbu la koot lii bokk na ci loo xam ne comme ne ñu ngi ko doon def pour jéem a rataxal diggante bi te man suma bëgg-bëgg su ma ko yàlla mayee mooy ne comme ne crime bi moom dama ko zéro waaw dinaa make sure ne comme ne fu ko suma boss bàyyi su ma ko gën a wàccee du egg ci kaw te tey nu ma waxee yoon ni woon nañ ma ne comme ne démb am na ñu bëri ñoo xam ne comme ne jàpp nañ leen ci guddi ci yoo xam ne comme ne dañ leen tuumaal I use the word ne dañ leen tuumaal ne ci defkati ay tafaar leen bokk na tam ci that station tam ne ñu ngee pare pour taxawal tam rajo boo xam ne comme ne tam dinañ buggati au civil society group bi waxtaan ak ñoom ubbi line bi di jël ay calls di déglu lu nit ñi di méttilu ak fan la pour ñu mën a make sure ne comme ne am nañ a very good society jërëjëf.
Thank you very much. Let me have a lady, please. Yes, Claire.
Claire Bargeles, working for the radio RFI. I'm sorry if you started to answer, but I don't know exactly what you said in Wolof, so sorry if the question is answered right. But I have a question about the event in Faraba. We know there will be a commission of inquiry in place, but do you think it's a time also to reflect, to have a reflection about what are the weaknesses in the Ghanaian police? And is the Ghanaian police ready to secure this kind of protest in the future? If the answer is no, what would be the measure you're thinking to put in place to change this situation?
Yes, as far as I'm concerned, I may not want to go very deep into that. Why? Because there has been a set of presidential commission of inquiries which will look into the circumstances that leads into that unfortunate incident. I would say that plans are on the way, looking at the context of how things happen, to make sure that something like that is never in history repeated in this country. But then what causes it? What were the lessons learned? I think it's a matter that the Commission will unveil at the completion of its findings. Thank you.
Yes, Omar. I am Omar Wali. I report for Deutsche Welle and Department. Actually, I can say 5 police officers are currently arrested and their services being suspended following the incident in Paramabanta. It's almost 10 days. When will they appear in court?
Okay, thank you. In that regard, I may want to talk on 2 issues. The fundamental right is equally to be extended to law enforcement officers. And in as much as I can tell you, their case will be brought before a court as soon as possible. It is hoped that probably before the end of the week, their cases will be mentioned in a court of law and the court will decide what next will take place. Thank you.
My name is Mamour Jobe, reporter with the Yes, I want to ask what my just mentioned with regard to this arrest of 5 FBI officers. But I want to know whether they are charged. And if they are charged, what charge are they being charged? And the other question is with regard, there are reports that, the incident that happens in Canada, some years back, that's in 2017, that a commission of inquiry was set up. Despite the fact that you were not the Inspector General by then, but I believe you were the Deputy Inspector General of Police.
Not at all.
Okay, if not, are you as the acting Inspector General of Police, are you going to look into the matter with a view in ensuring that the perpetrator are brought to justice?
Okay, let me just make this point very clear. The officers that are accused of being involved in this incident are presently under suspension. You are asking if there is a charge preferred against them. My answer to your question is no, there is no charge yet. Because you can only charge if you conclude an investigation. Because at the end of the investigation, that's where you will determine whether a crime in the first place is committed. And that can be obtained during the course of your investigation. These are the legal processes that are supposed to take place in all cases that involve crime. You don't arrest and charge like that. You will investigate where that has actually happened to look at what involves the death. And then once the case is investigated, then those that are interpreting the law will look at the basis of the evidence and will try and recommend the proper charge to be applied. Like the investigators will do their job and they will send it to the legal body who will look at what is in the investigation report and will then advise the appropriate charge to take. Now, with the issue that you are concerned to know about Haruna Jatta, is it Haruna Jatta? Jammeh? That incident found me when I was at the training school as the director of training, even though I knew very well that there had been investigation, and then a file is sent to the AG's chambers, and we are yet to get the response of that legal advice. But like I said, all that was needed was done on the ground, and it is now left for the legal body to look at it and see what appropriate actions to take. Thank you.
I'll take my fellow RAT. He's also a runaway to the Yes. Okay. Welcome, actually, IGP. I'm like you for a You took part of my question, and that is regarding
since the police was central in that incident, can you tell us whether the criminal inquest has started? And if yes, where, and when, and which dates? So that we can follow. The last one.
No, can you just, I don't want you to overload it.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, as far as I am concerned, in this particular circumstance regarding that of the Faraba, a coroner was already contacted, instituted, and he had already done the examinations, and the body to those people that are involved had been released to their families, and then now the report is yet to be submitted to the commission. What is the next question again?
Yes,
the civilians, yes, those guys were arrested, and I think 2 days after their arrest, they were released on bail. For the simple reason that some of them are very closely related to the victims that died during the incident. Thank you.
Okay, my last question, you said you were avoiding me to overload it. Is that over the years, we realized that peaceful demonstration, always end up with violence confrontation. As the new IG, can you tell us concrete mechanism that you will put in place to disperse, peaceful demonstrators to avoid violent confrontation, so that people in, Sarajaba, in CRR, will know when to involve themselves in peaceful demonstration and when their children can involve in peaceful demonstration?
Thank you. Basically, this is a question that I really love to hear, because it will help to bridge the gap that has already existed. Under normal circumstances, in law, within the dictates of the Constitution under Section 25, and people misinterpret the spirit and contents of that section. Now, in law, you are qualified to gather, assemble, express yourself. But in exercising those rights, there are responsibilities attached to them. There are certain things that you can do and that you cannot do. Because in exercising that right, other people's rights are also infringed. Let's say, for instance, you may want to take to the streets to show your dissatisfaction in a group of more than 2 persons. In exercising that right, you take to the streets. You are equally infringing the rights of other people as well. Because some other people who may want to use the highway or the road are denied at that material time. Even though that you feel that you have the right to exercise, you have the right to be on the road, but then you don't have the right to disturb other road users at that time. And that's why the law has placed into the office of the Inspector General of Police to say that people that want to do a peaceful demonstration must require a permit. Some people are taking it to be very unconstitutional. Let's take, for instance, that if you want to take to the streets, you feel that you have a right to do that, you go about it, doing it your own. Your other friend also wants to do the same thing without getting involved with the police, and he wants to do it on his own. Somebody else also wants to do it, and you all collide at the same area. At the end of the day, you will come back to the security, because there are about to be problems. The essence of that provision is saying that you need to tell us in your application where you want to do it, what time you want to do it, and then you are given security protections, and if it needs diverting the traffic in order to enable you to exercise those rights, we will do it. And again, give you the necessary protections, as the case may be. Sometimes the people are with the concept that you can just get up anytime you like and say, I'm going to demonstrate. Now, let's take, for instance, that if everybody should behave, if everybody should react to that at the same time, in a small environment, there is bound to be chaos. You have the right to do that, but where your right stops is where other rights begins. So the fact that you are occupying a space, part of the highway, that you and I and somebody else have equal access requires you to have at least a courtesy in the way of a permit request. And once that is done, you are allowed. And I will make sure that during my time as the Inspector General of Police of the Gambia Police Force, I will ensure that where a permit is requested for, looking at the basis and the securities involved, I would approve it. And once I approve it, I'll give the necessary protections. You say whatever you want to say based on the fact that it is within the confinements of the law to make your expression.
With the security reforms that are going on, how do you intend to address the security gaps? My question is because is it part of the police modules on how to cope riots and peaceful demonstration? Is it part of the training modules of the police? That's one question. With also the security reforms that are going on, how do you intend to address the security gaps within the police force? Thank you.
Now, security reforms, like I said, is on the way, and it's at its conclusion stage. And once the report is out, it will advise the security sectors of our country as to what we should do. Now, the other issue that you have raised, that is to say, whether the issue of public order management are part of our training component in the training the security services. Yes. People that passes through training, be it the PIU, be it the general duty, are given the basic training on public order management. Thank you.
Yes, lady.
I'm from Senegal. My name is Bella.
Your name is?
Bella from Senegal. We have seen incident happening it happened in Makamanda, Utumbala, Kanjamba, and among other places. The police promised to investigate the matter, yet to no result. What is holding the police to investigate the matter, or release the finding of the investigation?
Now, to start with, I say point of correction. Maybe you are not aware, but that the police had investigated. They had investigated all those incidents, and a file is sent to the Aegis Chambers for an advice. Like I said, whenever something happens, the Aegis Chambers is the legal advising body that advise governments on matters related to crime. When it happened, we took it upon ourselves to investigate, and a file had been compiled and is sent for a legal advice in those areas. Thank you. Yeah, who should coordinate?
Yes, I am Mumudu Gajaga from QTV. Still on the image of the police. Sorry? Something. Yes, still on the image of the police. Looking at public perception of the police in the Gambia. It's like police are slow. Some of the people think that police are incompetent, especially when it comes to responding to crime scenes. In the immediate, I mean, it's sometimes very unfortunate. Crime scenes happen and the criminals or the perpetrators go scot-free until after days and weeks and months they are not bring to book. So these are some of the concerns when it comes to police, the perception of people when it comes to the police.
Yes. I would say that is the perception that some people believe over the police. But equally, on the same side of the coin, there are some people that are of the belief that despite little resources, or limited resources, as I may call it, the police are doing their best. For those of us who have traveled to other countries who are better opportune in terms of resources, crime is more serious than here in this country. No matter however you do it, let's take, for instance, in the United States, with all the devices that they have, on every second in the United States, a crime is committed. Even though that the resources are limited, the police are doing their best. And one good part of it is that some people appreciate the little that, or the efforts that the police are doing. And I will tell you that before I start making this press briefing, you were told that the police had embarked on an anti-crime operation, and quite a lot of people are arrested for various offenses, which you will come to see when they are brought to you. So there is no way that you can do it, and everybody says it's okay. For those that feel dissatisfied, it's a portion of society compared to those that are taking it to say that, yes, the police are doing their best. Thank you.
We'll take 2 more questions. Yes.
My name is Alaji Mane. I'm work as an editor with the Standard newspaper. IGP, first, congratulate you on your appointment as acting. First, I would like to say congratulations on your appointment as acting IGP of police. My question is somehow related to that of my QTV colleague over there. Despite the numerous programs or workshops organized addressing rights violations, of course, with police, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders, there is a feeling, there is a perception that the police still don't get it. They still tend to resort to violating of rights, verbally assaulting people. So my question is, as the new IGP, how do you intend to deal with this syndrome? Secondly, why was the PIU loaded with a live bullet to quell a peaceful protest in Faraba? Thank you.
Now, I will make it very clear, but little comments onto the issue of the PIU being armed. Under Section 20 of the Police Act, empowers the PIU in the discharge of their daily functions to be armed. That's the point of the law. The section says they are qualified to be armed with AK-47 with 7.62 millimeters. If you go on the Section 20 of the Police Act, it provides that legal justification to say that the police can be armed. And again, in putting up a public disorder crisis, again, in trying to put down a public disorder crisis, there is supposed to be a unit that should disperse peacefully the rioters. And in that unit, it is supposed to contain, or it is supposed to have baton and seals for its easy dispensation of the rioters, which, if it fails, there is supposed to be the gas section, the smoke section, and then the the last and not the least, is the rifle section. So some people are of the view that the rifle is not part of the right equipment. Of course. But then that should be the last option, the last approach in all righteous situations.
Okay, thank you very much, IG. I am Samuel, but not to drag you back, but I want you to briefly summarize your answer to his question on what your priorities, immediate priorities would be.
In English, sir.
He asked it in Wolof. Okay. Now, my main priorities in this new appointment is to continue the good efforts of my predecessors, particularly in trying to zero crime, in trying to build up police public, the press relationship. Thank you.
Who has got an action? Yes. Quickly, please. That would be the penultimate question.
Yeah, I am Usman Emarong from the Monitor newspaper. The new acting IGP, what have you, as the new acting IGP, in terms of dealing with threats to peaceful security in the country? And secondly, should the police attend to peaceful demonstration with live ammunition, and under which circumstance should they open fire, should in case things got out of hand?
Just follow up, please. Yes, you do your follow-up quickly. Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I think it's good, IGP, you quote Section 20. So why didn't the police apply Section 20? The last rescue is, because they are empowered to carry a gun, but there are also other means to use. Why didn't they use the other means in the Faraba issue? Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that you want answers to the Faraba issue. Let me just respond. Yes, let me just respond. The matter is under investigation by a commission that has been set up by the president. I would appreciate if we leave it to them to come up to give us our answers, because it's a matter under investigation. Let us just understand.
Let me just clarify for clarity purposes. I don't want to be misconstrued. Gentlemen, yes, somebody asked the question whether is it right for the police, particularly the PIU, to carry arms. My response to him was, yes, they are right to carry arms in the discharge of their functions as police intervention officers. And that can be found under Section 20 of the Police Act, which guarantees them that in the discharge of their duties as PIU officers, they are qualified to be armed. Because that is the backup.
We will come to that when the commission is ready.
No, let's just make this point very clear. Gentlemen, let's just make this point clear. The question, if you can understand well, is asking whether the police have a right. I answer the question by saying, yes, they have a right, and that reference to that right can be construed under Section 20. The instances that cause the police to discharge the firearms at Faraba is a matter subjected to a presidential inquiry. The circumstances would come, and they will look at it if it had fallen under those circumstances to determine what next to do.
That's quite clear. I would ask him, you had a chance. This is the last question.
Good morning. I am Modu Ture. I work for Brikama Community Radio Station. We've seen incidents in Kanilai, Mankamankunda, and Busumbala. Every time they will set up a committee to inquire and report, there will never be a report out. And now we've seen a committee set up to inquire about the Faraba incident. I'm asking the police whether there are any reports ready in regards to the 3 earlier crimes? And secondly, the police work under command, as you said. Now we've seen junior officers being suspended. Do you have any plans or any means to solve those problems instead of suspending the junior ones and they are working under command? And now we've seen all the senior cadre of the police, everybody is giving blames to the junior ones. So that's my question.
Now, I would still mention that I would not want to comment if it is the matter that is related to Faraba. Now, on the other side, we have the separation of powers. Separation of powers in this context means our duty as law enforcement officers under Section 4 is to investigate. And where we investigate, the authority to prosecute has some legal implications, and that is requiring the advice of the AG's chambers. And look at it, all criminal matters that needs to get to the court, mostly, if the evidence is not readily available, it needs the advice of the legal secretary, and sometimes that takes time. Our job is only to investigate. And once we investigate, we have a duty. And we cannot tell how long it should take to get that report known to the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think let us be very appreciative of the fact that the IGP has taken his very valuable time. He's still settling down. His office is not yet set.
Can we just I don't mind to give out two,
yes.
two,
Okay,
please.
Yes, one for me. Yeah, okay, you
first. My name is Lamin Fall from Paradise TV. We have seen quite a lot of incidences where members of the police intervention unit make presence. But when they leave, people always blame them. Is it that the men are not very well equipped or very well trained to handle situations like that? Secondly, how do you intend to tackle corruption within the Gambia police force? Thank you.
Okay, two questions. Two questions. The first question, yes, I would say that there are some gaps that needs to be filled, and this entails continued training. Not everybody is bad, but not everybody is also good. In as much as there are gaps, and those gaps are identified, then training is going to be on a continuous process. The last question that you said was what?
Corruption.
Now, corruption under 82, 86, 87 of the Criminal Code is very specific. That people are of the concept that corruption is one-sided. Corruption is both the two-way side of the coin. Both the giver and the taker are equally guilty of corruption. I guess you know what I mean. If you give out to an officer, you, the one bribing him, equally commits the offense as he, the officer that is receiving it. But the public perception of it is that the policeman is the person to be blamed. By virtue of law, nobody is supposed to corrupt the police or any law enforcement agency, to be clear or to be more specific. You are not supposed to. These are things that you are entitled to enjoy, and if you are made to pay, refuse and say, I'm not going to pay. It's my right to take or get those services from you. But if you feel that the offense is committed only on one side, you have been misguided. Both the officer and the person giving are equally responsible of the crime committed.
Yes.
Which other one?
One last question.
Yes, PRO. I was saying, my concern regarding the mechanism for this past crowd was not properly dealt with. In my concern, we were just explaining the method of approving, applications for family.
Now, to touch that little, I would say that it depends on the circumstances on the ground. Looking at the general atmosphere dictates what line of action next to take. But of course, there is supposed to be stages. There is supposed to be stages under normal circumstances, yes. But then that same law says that in the event that there are no opportunities, then you are advised to take the next stage. You do according to what the situation dictates. And this, like I say, you are trying to drag me to talk about the recent incident.
I think you can
but then,
but
we would like to make it a little bit clear. There are supposed to be, or there are stages that should take place, but it does not necessarily mean that it has to be followed.
You can do your own research. You can do your own research. It's all over the place. I want to thank you very much, sir. I guess it's enough. You have done tremendously very well, and I think he deserves a round of applause. It's unprecedented. I thank you very much. The anti-crime unit has arrived here. We will go downstairs, and then we will do the second part of this press conference.